Hello all, Steffen here from Build the Lanes, coming to you from a park in Harlem. And this is the start of a new series where I try to answer your questions that you post in the community tab at least once a week. The question for this week was asked by a user who wanted to know, how do we talk to people, specifically car drivers, who oppose any kind of meaningful change to the road system? And my answer is probably going to be a little bit boring, but I would say don't talk to them any other way than you normally would when trying to convince somebody, which is convince them that it's in their own self-interest. Car drivers aren't a uniquely different kind of group. They are used to a certain status quo, and they're going to generally oppose anything that will change that status quo in a negative way. And the real key that I've discovered working in the US and the Netherlands is that it's not so much about convincing people that they need to accept something new. It's by convincing them that what you're proposing isn't actually going to affect them all that negatively. A specific example, doing things like road diets or by removing unnecessary lanes from roads, the best way to convince them is just to show them that, yeah, the bottleneck isn't the roads themselves, it's the intersection. And by removing multiple lanes, we might actually be able to remove some of the stop and go out of the system, and we could actually speed your commute up. And then with the added benefit of having better road maintenance, because the city is spending less money building useless lanes, and maybe just lower taxes in general once the cost of maintaining the road system goes down. It's generally how it works in most transportation engineering. When you want to put in a new protected bike path, you can sell it to car drivers by saying, hey, that's going to mean fewer cars that are on the road. That means less delay for you. It means less pollution for people who live in that neighborhood. It means higher fitness levels. So you're not trying to convince somebody that you want to do something and they should just accept it. You just have to point out to them, all these things we want to do, they're not actually going to affect you negatively. In fact, they might even help you. Now, as a side note, the one exception to this logic is parking. So free parking in its essence is a subsidy that is given to car drivers, and car drivers, not wanting to get rid of their financial privilege, will tend to resist any kind of change to getting rid of free car parking. Side note, that doesn't make car drivers unique. It makes them just like every other special interest group. When that privilege is threatened, there is going to be pushback against it. And truthfully, this is something where there's not a clear-cut answer. Local governments from all over the world are still struggling with this question. I've worked in multiple countries around the world. It doesn't matter if you're in the US, Canada, the Netherlands, somewhere in South America. Whenever you remove free parking, there's always a drama. Harlem tried passing parking reform via referenda, meaning they would have tried to expand the paid parking zone, and that failed drastically by over 70%. So that doesn't mean Harlem still isn't doing things to make progress in that field, but it just means it's happening slower. So every time there is a project, a certain number of spots will be removed in exchange for something else like bike parking or greenery.